You are not poor. You want to make that clear to yourself every morning when you wake up and look at your life. You have a job. You have a car. You have a home, rented or mortgaged, but yours in the way that matters day to day. You have food in the refrigerator and clothes in the closet and a phone in your pocket that connects you to the entire world. By any historical measure, by any global standard, you are doing well. You know this. You remind yourself of this regularly, and yet something does not sit right. Something beneath the surface of your comfortable, functional, respectable life creates a quiet pressure that never fully goes away. You are not struggling exactly, but you are not getting ahead either. And the longer you live this life, the more you begin to suspect that the gap between where you are and where you always assumed you would eventually arrive is not closing. It is staying exactly the same. Or worse, it is widening so slowly that you almost cannot see it happening until one day you look back and realize that 10 years have passed and the financial distance between you and real security is identical to what it was a decade ago. This is your life in the middle class, and the trap is more sophisticated than you think. It begins long before you have any money to speak of. It begins in the way you were taught to think about money, which is to say, it begins with almost no financial education at all. You grew up in a household where money was either a source of stress or a subject that was simply not discussed. You watched your parents work. You understood that work produced income. You understood that income paid for things. What you did not learn, what almost no one in the middle class is ever taught, is the difference between earning money and building wealth. That distinction, that single gap in understanding, will shape the entire trajectory of your financial life unless something forces you to confront it. You get your first real job in your early 20s. The salary feels significant after years of student budgets and part-time work. You set up your direct deposit. You pay your bills. You buy things you have wanted for a while because you finally can. You feel, for the first time, like a functional adult operating in the world. What you do not notice, what is almost impossible to notice when you are living inside it, is that you have just stepped onto a treadmill. The treadmill is moving. You are moving with it. And the scenery is pleasant enough that it takes years to realize that you have not actually gone anywhere. Your expenses grow to meet your income. This is not a personal failing. It is one of the most well-documented patterns in personal finance, and it happens to almost everyone regardless of intelligence or discipline. You get a raise, and within 6 months, your lifestyle has adjusted to consume it. You move to a better apartment. You upgrade your car. You eat out more often. You subscribe to things. Each individual decision is entirely reasonable. Taken together, they form a pattern that ensures your savings rate stays roughly constant, no matter how much more you earn. You are running faster on the treadmill. The treadmill is speeding up to match you. You are in your late 20s now, and you begin to feel the first real pressure of the trap. Your peers are buying homes. Some of them seem to be doing significantly better than you financially, and you cannot fully understand why because you know their salaries are not dramatically different from yours. What you do not see is that some of them started with family money, with down payment gifts, with inheritances that were never announced. The middle class has a complicated relationship with financial transparency. People talk about their spending. They rarely talk about the invisible advantages that made it possible. You buy a home because it is what you are supposed to do at this stage of life. The mortgage is significant but manageable. You have been told your entire life that buying a home is the best investment you can make, and you have no framework to evaluate that claim critically, so you accept it. What nobody fully explains to you is that a primary residence is not an investment in the way a rental property or a stock portfolio is an investment. It is a place to live that also happens to hold some of its value over time. The distinction matters enormously when you are trying to understand why your net worth is not growing the way you expected. Your 30s arrive, and with them a set of financial pressures that compound on each other in ways you did not anticipate. If you have children, the cost is staggering. Not just the direct expenses, but the career adjustments, the childcare, the way that every unexpected cost now lands on a budget that was already fully allocated. If you do not have children, you face different pressures, the expectation of a certain lifestyle, the social spending, the subtle competition of a peer group that is all moving through the same life stages at roughly the same time. You are working harder than you have ever worked. Your income is higher than it has ever been. And at the end of every month, the number in your savings account is almost exactly what it was at the end of the previous month. Sometimes it is less. You tell yourself you will get serious about saving next month. After this particular expense is resolved, after things settle down a little, next month arrives with its own set of complications. This is not a temporary phase. This is the structure of the trap. The retirement account exists. You contribute to it because your employer matches a percentage, and everyone told you to do it. But you have not looked at it carefully in several years, because looking at it carefully produces a specific kind of anxiety that you have found it easier to avoid. When you finally do look at it, when you sit down one evening and actually run the numbers, actually calculate what you will have at retirement if current trends continue, the result is not what you hoped. The number is not nothing, but it is not enough. And the gap between what you have and what you will need is not something that can be closed by simply contributing a little more each month. It requires a fundamental change in strategy that nobody has ever clearly explained to you. This is the deepest part of the trap. Not the spending, not the lifestyle inflation, not even the mortgage. The deepest part of the trap is the absence of a genuine financial education in a world that is constantly selling you financial products while carefully avoiding any conversation about the principles that would allow you to evaluate them. Clearly, you have been sold retirement accounts and mortgages and insurance policies and credit cards by people whose income depends on your participation in these products. You have never been taught how to read a balance sheet, how to evaluate an asset versus a liability, how to think about the relationship between time, money, and compounding in a way that actually changes your behavior. The middle class is not a destination, it is a system. And the system is extraordinarily good at keeping people inside it. But here is what the system does not account for. It does not account for the person who decides to understand it. The person who sits down and builds a genuine picture of their financial life, not the comfortable version, the real version, and uses that picture as the beginning of a different strategy. The person who stops optimizing for the appearance of financial stability and starts building actual financial stability, even when those two things look very different from the outside. The trap is real. But it is not inescapable. It is made of habits and assumptions and gaps in knowledge. And every single one of those things can be changed by a person who decides to change them. The decision is not complicated. It is not easy, but it is available to anyone willing to look clearly at the life they are living and ask honestly whether the trajectory they are on is actually taking them where they want to go. Most people never ask that question clearly enough to hear the real answer. You are asking it now, and that is the beginning of everything that comes next. The middle class does not trap you because it is cruel. It traps you because it is comfortable enough to make the question feel unnecessary until suddenly it is urgent, until the retirement calculation lands wrong, until the kids need college money that does not exist, until an unexpected job loss reveals that the financial foundation you believed was solid was in fact a single income stream with nothing beneath it. The people who escape the middle-class trap are not smarter than you. They are not luckier than you, or at least, luck is a far smaller factor than the stories we tell about success would have you believe. They simply encountered the right information at the right time and were willing to act on it before the urgency arrived. They built the foundation before the storm, not during it. You have the information now. The question that remains the only question that has ever mattered is what you choose to do with it. The treadmill is still running. You can keep running with it. Or you can step off, look at it clearly, and start building something that actually moves you forward. The choice has always been yours. It still is.